Good evening and welcome to the Wakefield School Committee meeting of Tuesday, September 26, 2017. I will call this meeting back into order, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And with that, we'll read the mission statement of the Wakefield Public Schools. The vision of the Wakefield Public Schools is to graduate students who are confident, lifelong learners, who are respectful and caring members of their community. Our mission is to prepare students for college, career, and community by providing rich and challenging curriculum, high-quality instruction, and educational experiences that meet their individual needs and interests. And with the committee's permission, I think we'll go a little out of order tonight and go immediately into our summer learning report and raffle prizes.
Please do.
Very good. Can you join me up front?
Sure.
Superintendent of the Wakefield Public Schools, and this is Mr. Ron Tiro, Chairman of our school committee. It is on. Do not have a green light here. It's on. It's on. Testing 1, 2. It's on 1, 2.
Talk amongst yourselves.
And everyone at home. It's a popcorn break.
Every year we have our summer learning that takes place, and we focus on English language arts and math, and even this year we added some science. And a lot of students participated. Our participation rate was fantastic. And what we promised students were if they really engaged themselves in learning, we were really proud of them, and we would enter them into a raffle if they participated in a reflection activity, either following their reading or their math. So how many of the students out here did both reading and math? A lot of you.
Awesome.
Great. Wonderful. One of the things I was really pleased that I wanted to tell the committee was that I just happened to notice that at the Galvin Middle School, there were 306 math activity reflections, which is pretty extraordinary. That means not only did the students do the math work, they actually did a reflection and submitted a reflection on their work and their learning. And as you know, it's our goal and our mission to inspire the love of learning, so I hope the students got a lot out of it. So I'd like to start by calling our ELA winners up today, and we'll bring forward Addison Butland, grade 4, from the Woodville School. It's okay to clap. And Ms. Boudiette will give you your prize, and you're going to stay right here. And then from the Greenwood School, Matthias George, grade 3. Congratulations, Matthias. You can stay right here. And then absent from the Dahlbeer School is Kathleen DeCourcy, grade 3. And I did promise her that she could come 2 weeks from now and get her prize. And then moving on to the Walton School, Julianne Aliski, grade 2. Congratulations. And these are our elementary school readers. And then from the middle school, Brandon Nett, grade 5. Congratulations, Brandon. And also from the Galvin Middle School, Stephanie Curran, grade 8, who is not able to attend, but we'll get her prize to her later. And then from the high school, Shannon Foley, grade 11. Is Shannon here? Congratulations, Shannon. And then also from the high school, grade 9, Zachary Atui. Congratulations, Zachary. So why don't we take a picture and then we'll do a quick reflection. All right, Mr. Beverly. All right, everyone's good. So first of all, let me tell you about the cool prizes you have in your bags, okay? So first of all, you have a reading journal for book lovers. And in that, it has a checklist of all kinds of award-winning novels and recommended reading for all genres. It also has a journal that you can keep track of all the books you've read and ones that are on your next up list. And you also have in there bookmarks that have quotes on it, 3 different ones. They're clip bookmarks, and one says, "Kindly go away, I'm reading." Another one says, "So many books, so little time." And then the last one says, "Just one more chapter." So you can have those to use. And then for the students, grades 6 through 12, you have an iTunes gift card to use for whatever you want it for. So I hope you enjoy that. So tell me just a little bit, would anyone like to tell me about your summer reading experience, or if you love books or anything about your experience?
Well, I like to read kind of challenging books, so I read the more bigger books.
Excellent. So you really challenged yourself. We'd love to hear that. And that's a really important thing to do, right? Is to keep challenging your learning. Anyone else have a good experience with their books or would like to share?
I'm very interested in revolutions and wars and stuff like that throughout history, so that's why I picked my book, Sunrise Over Fallujah, that has to deal with Project Iraqi Freedom, and basically it takes place through one soldier, how he doesn't know what to do with his life, so he decides to go in the Army, and it's his whole adventure in Iraq. So I found that book pretty interesting to me.
Wow, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else would like to contribute, to share? Well, congratulations. Great job, everybody. Thank you so much. Good job, Matthias. And now on to our math winners. So from the Woodville School, we have Benjamin Balea, grade 4. Straight from Pop Warner. Nice job. A scholar athlete in the making. From the Greenwood School, Joshua Hubert, grade 4. Congratulations, Joshua. From the Dahlbeer School, Abby Beaver, grade 4. From the Walton School, Sophia Tulipani, grade 4. From the middle school, Anissa Coney, grade 7. Congratulations. From grade 5, from the Galvin Middle School, Nicolo Libiniak. And from the high school, An Tran, grade 11. Congratulations. And from grade 10, Saoirse Nolan. Congratulations. And while I'm kind of gathering the students, and also I want to congratulate all the parents and families and siblings for promoting love of learning in your homes. I'm sure the parents contributed a great deal to encouraging the students to do the math and to do the reading, and that's fantastic. So we love it. So these guys, would anyone like to, maybe one of the high school kids, could you pull out your T-shirt so we could show them? So the math students that won the math prizes all won a math T-shirt that, if you can hold it up, I'll show you what it says. And it's with growth mindset in mind. It says, just hold it up nice and high for the camera, mistakes allow thinking to happen. M-A-T-H. Mistakes allow thinking to happen. And that's a true growth mindset. So all of the students got that really awesome shirt, and the students grades 6 through 12 also got an iTunes gift card. So great job. And would anyone like to share, what did you do for math over the summer? What kind of math activities did you do?
I did multiplication and fractions, and I love multiplication. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Fantastic. That's excellent. And I bet you felt really ready when school started, right? Anybody else? What did you do for your math? Anyone else want to share? You don't want to share?
For my summer math homework, I just really did some basic algebraic things that, I just had to refine for school.
Excellent. So you really refined some of your algebraic work in preparation for the school year, which really keeping yourself sharp over the summer is really important, right? So do you all like math? You love math. Can I tell you, I love to hear that. Well, you should all be super proud of these boys and girls. Congratulations again. Great job, everybody. Oh, a picture. Wait, hold, come back. We didn't get a picture of this room. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, thank you. Keep on loving learning, everybody. Okay, now the rest of the meeting is looks really boring. I'll do your homework now. Thank you for coming, everybody. Very proud.
It's hot under those lights.
It's what?
It's hot. Maybe we can get the Board of Selectmen to do something about that.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
I think they're doing plenty.
Okay.
All right, now we can look to see if Swiss is here. I actually still don't see them, so I don't know.
That's okay. Well, I do see someone who used to do student advisory. See anything? Do we have regular student advisory?
Well, you really know how to clear a room, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, and congratulations to all of our summer winners. I did skip over public comment briefly. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Okay, and I don't see anyone. So with that, why don't we do the consent agenda right now while we wait for folks to clear out?
Sure.
I see students in here. There's some students, I don't know if the Swiss kids.
Move the school committee approve the minutes of September 12, 2017 school committee meeting and accept the minutes of the September 12, 2017 school committee policy and planning subcommittee meeting as presented.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? All in favor? Thank you, everyone. All right, we will jump back up here to our Student Advisory Council. I understand we've got some guests here tonight as well, so take it away.
Awesome. So just to reintroduce myself from last year, I'm Kai Perry, I'm a student here at Wakefield High School, and I'll be the standing committee member, or student committee member this year.
I'll also introduce myself. I'm Christopher Bossy. I'll also be a senior at the high school this year, and I'm continuing as one of the classes of 2018's representative to the school committee.
Hi, I'm Amanda Westlake. I'm one of the new representatives to the school committee, and I'm a junior.
Hi, I'm Talal Aman, also class of 2019 junior, rep to the school committee.
All right, so this Thursday at 6:30 is back to school night, and parents received an electronic copy of a packet, including like a map of the school and information about how to ask their kids for like their schedules and everything once they are there. And the senior college visits have started during the school day, so yeah.
Tomorrow, Wednesday, September 27th, will be a half day for all of Wakefield Public Schools, or just the high school?
I think I'll
And so at the high school, classes will be dismissed at 11 o'clock, at the Galvin 11:20, and in the elementary schools 11:55.
This Thursday is picture day for her sophomores and juniors at the high school.
Awesome news, we have no school on October 6th because of Staff Development Day.
Anything from the committee? Any questions? Anything? Welcome to our newest
Welcome.
members, and welcome back to both of you. All righty. Thanks, guys. Please, Chris.
Have you been made aware of the policy we're going to be talking about tonight?
I think we might have talked about it a little bit at our meeting, but
Any comment, any input on the policy before we vote on it?
I think we're good.
Actually not. I was sort of called to the meeting at the last second. I'm not certain what tonight's will be about.
We're going to be talking about having a student representative have a more formal seat at the table to participate in discussions and represent.
Oh yeah.
Tell us, what sporting activities you're in, and then leave. What you're actually
Oh yeah, we talked about that.
Okay.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. And we do have some more guests here tonight. We've got our Swiss Exchange delegation, so I'd invite them to the table.
Okay, so would you maybe introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about the program? Pull up a chair, that's a great idea.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Caroline McFarland. I'm one of the Swiss chaperones, and we're very happy to be here. We, that is my colleague Sammy Fry and me. We are here for 2 weeks, and this is a cultural exchange, as you know, and this exchange has been established in 2003. We consider ourselves very fortunate to be able to have this program because it's a wonderful opportunity for our young individuals to get a better look or a better glimpse of the American culture, and then on the other hand they get a very good glimpse of Swiss culture. Basel, Switzerland is in the heart of Europe, at least that's what the Swiss people say. And yes, Boston of course is also the heart of America, right? Yes. This cultural exchange enables our Swiss kids to feel the real American life, so it's not a life that they see on television that's transported to them, but they get a sight from within, and they very much appreciate their hospitality and the warm welcome, and it's really a great exchange and also chance to learn from each other. And when we arrived on Saturday, it was very, very nice, because on Sunday we asked them, well, how are you doing? We asked our Swiss kids, and they said, well, wonderful, and they hit it off from the spot, and yeah, we're perfect matches. What is part of the exchange as well is that we go and shadow the American kids, and this is also a special experience because the Swiss school system functions in a very different way. So our Swiss kids, they're always 25 people, and they move from one class to another. So they move from French to German to English to Spanish, always within those 25 people. And here, of course, you know the American system is different. Okay, so we appreciate that we have this great exchange.
Can we hear a little from the students, maybe?
Yeah,
What the experience is like?
I think it truly is a great opportunity to be able to participate in an exchange like this, because like breaking down cultural barriers and everything, like getting to meet like international friends and stuff, it's so cool, and it's really a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And I have to say, one of my favorite things is learning to not take the little things for granted that we have here. Like Boston, it's like you kind of like drive through it like, but it's like when you're with someone else from another country, it's like you're living it through their eyes, and you're getting new perspectives, and that truly is really eye-opening, and it's kind of like reliving things in a different way, so it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I have a Swiss student as well, and I really appreciate the program, not only for like the friends that you make and the people that you meet, but also, like Megan said, the second perspective that you get, because you have a lot of predisposed ideas about what Europe is like or what Switzerland is like, and then when you come here, or when you go to Switzerland and when they come here, it's like all of those are knocked down completely, and the stereotypes are gone, all the stigmas are gone, and then it's like you start anew and you have a completely different idea of what it's like life is like over there, and how similar we are and how different we are at the same time. So yeah.
So I think it's a really great opportunity to see how the American school system is and how the American life is, and not only see it in the movies. And as Megan said, you don't take everything for granted. Like, there were some things I was like, okay, not everyone lives like this or has it like this, and on the other hand, I saw things here, I was like, okay, other people do it differently, and I will have like a good balance of both. And I don't think I will ever get another opportunity in my life to see the USA like this, like with the shadowing in the school, and really be with the people for such a long time.
I thought it's a really great opportunity as well, because also of the language, you get to know like people talking a completely different language you speak in Switzerland, and that's really nice, like being somewhere completely different and meet a lot of people that are also excited to meet you. And the shadowing, I really like the shadowing because I never have been to such a high school, and we know it from the movies, and it's kind of funny to see how it's in real life, and I really like it.
Well, thank you all. Anything from the committee? Mr. Callahan?
I'd like to hear a little bit about what you did the other day, because I had a bunch of you park in my parking lot to take the train in Boston. And I was, how did you enjoy the commuter rail? And our trains are nowhere near as fancy as they have in Europe. What was your activity in Boston the other day?
So on the first day, we went to the State House, and we visited Beacon Hill, and then we saw John Rivers' house. So we did a Freedom Trail, and yesterday we went whale watching.
Wow.
What did we do?
The duck tour, didn't you?
The duck tour, the duck tour. This was on the first day.
Yeah, it was foggy.
Exactly.
Beginning of the week wasn't as nice.
Oh no.
And then a lot of walking through Boston and just enjoy the city.
It's nice. It is a small city to walk. That's good.
So I have, I'd like to explore a question that, I honestly, I forget your name.
Caroline McFarland.
Caroline, thank you. First of all, welcome and thank you for the extraordinary work that the teachers will obviously have to put into this. That shouldn't go without saying, and I'm sure the students greatly appreciate this is above and beyond the call of the call of the profession, but so certainly thank you for being part of Wakefield's life. You had mentioned when you were sort of describing very, very briefly what a school day is or a school environment is, and the students stay in groups of about 25 and go around class to class. You had mentioned like 3 or 4 different world languages.
Yes.
Do students take each of those? Could you explore what is the depth of the world language program in the Swiss high school?
Switzerland has 4 languages. So they speak Swiss, German, that's our language, Italian, French, and then 1% speaks Romansh, but that's a very old language. So the Swiss kids are required to learn at least 1 extra language that's spoken. So we learn French, that's a requirement. English is also a requirement, everyone has to learn English. So they have 3 languages already. And then after that, they choose their major. So if they have arts as their major, then that's it with the languages. But some choose Spanish as their major or Italian, so they have a 4th language coming in. And then, of course, they have physics and chemistries and biology and geography and so on. So.
And at what age do the students begin to take that diversity of languages?
9, right? Is it 9? It's the school system has changed, so about 9, I would say.
It's actually now that they start in 3rd grade with the 2nd language. So, well, there's one point we have to really point out. We actually speak Swiss German, which is quite a variety, quite away from German. So actually, we start with learning German. Okay. We don't know that. So they start learning German in kindergarten and 1st grade and 2nd grade. 3rd grade, French will start, and 5th grade, it will be the English. So that's like we head off. It's a rather new try that we start so early. It's only a few years since we don't have the results yet.
Right.
So those kids, they raised with starting French in 5th grade.
That is wonderful. That's certainly something different for us as well. But I was intrigued when your examples were really different world languages. So that's an exciting piece. What is your school year like? How many days, for example, are in a school year in Switzerland?
I would say it's 40 weeks. So we have 6 weeks of summer holidays, 2 weeks in fall, 2 weeks at Christmas, 2 weeks for skiing and a festivity, a carnival-like, and then 2 weeks at Easter. So we have little portions. I think it makes it easier for the kids to, recover from their hard school days.
Okay, so you have breaks throughout the year. You don't have a sort of length of time and then 2 or 3 months off. You've got. I see. Very interesting. Well, anyways, thank you very much, and again, welcome, and enjoy the rest of your time in Wakefield in Massachusetts.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much. We brought one teeny tiny little present for you. It's a Basel specialty, and this is what a typical Basel site. So you might enjoy a Basel cookie.
Wow.
It's called Lacolle.
Thanks so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Ozzy still around?
He has been retired, but he's still around. He's active, but not at school.
Tell him we said hello.
Yes, I will.
Okay. And I think we are good with the Student Advisory Council, right?
Actually, Mr. Chairman, if
Yes,
I may, just to comment to one of the things, we should probably express our great gratitude to the Wakefield families who have hosted the students. That's obviously an integral part of making this successful, not only this year, but historically. I know that's a very big deal. So can we communicate that formally to each of the families, I'm sure. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Alrighty, Chairman's comments. I do not have anything tonight, so I will toss it back to Dr. Smith.
Okay, and I will toss the cookies down for everyone to enjoy.
Well.
Okay, so next on my agenda is to bring up Elizabeth Russell of the Wakefield Education Foundation and Brendan Kent, our K-12 Director of Athletics, Health, and Wellness. And they're going to give a report on the Cummings Grant, which is a really big deal, I think everyone knows. And then I think Elizabeth will just tell us a little bit of an update on the Wakefield Educational Foundation.
Thank you for having us again. Very excited. So right now, really what we're going to do is give an update, a review of year one, and an update of where we're going with year two. So first and foremost, I would just like to, if this works. Yeah, that's fine.
Is the power on, Brendan?
Yep. That's all right. First and foremost, I just want to thank the Wakefield Education Foundation and Elizabeth and the Cummings Foundation. Without those two organizations, none of this would have been possible. So in the fall of 2015, Elizabeth reached out, and the Wakefield Education Foundation reached out to Dr. Smith, told Wakefield Public Schools that they were planning on applying for a Cummings grant through the Cummings Foundation. I communicated with Dr. Smith some of my plans, and Elizabeth and I got together, and Elizabeth was just unbelievable to work with. And in the spring of 2016, the Cummings Foundation accepted our $100,000 grant application. So it comes in installments over a 4-year period of $25,000 a year. So right now, we're just going to review where the money went last year and where it's going this year. So year one. Do you want to add anything, Elizabeth?
No,
okay,
great.
Awesome. Year one, the $25,000 installment went towards rebuilding the adventure course at the high school. And so for those that don't know where the course is located, it's located in the wooded area in between Dobbins Tennis Courts and Landrigan Field. So it's kind of hidden from the street, but once you go in the path, it opens up, and it's really beautiful in there. So the course was built between July and December of 2016. Our physical education teachers received training on it during professional development days last year between March and June. And the high school physical education classes will begin using it this fall. In addition to WEF and the Cummings Foundation, we also just want to give a special thanks to some other people and organizations that made this possible. So there was a lot of tree work that was not anticipated before we applied for the grant, and Keith's Tree Service, Keith Brennan, the owner, offered to complete all of the work free of charge for the Wakefield Public Schools, and it was estimated at least $10,000 worth of work. So really, he did extensive work up there. He cleared an emergency access pathway. He cleared a pathway for the machines to come in to build the course. He hauled out any dead or unhealthy trees, brushes, branches, debris, limbs, overgrowth. In addition to Keith's, Wakefield Gas and Light Department, Mr. Dan Flynn also helped out tremendously. They helped pre-drill the area to test for ledge, which there was none up there, so we were very fortunate. He also helped us out with dig safe to make sure it was safe to build on, and he drilled the holes and helped us install the poles, which we built our course on. And last but not least, Mr. Dennis Fazio in the Wakefield Department of Public Works helped remove all the poison ivy up there, which was completely infested. And when the course was completed, they spread out wood chips up there, so it looks really nice. So a picture is worth 1,000 words. So next slide is just a little, depiction of what it looks like before on the left. As you can see, it was complete overgrowth. You couldn't even walk up there. During, that's Keith's Tree and the Gas and Light Department and Wing Speed Adventure. And then the after is what's up there right now. It's really, if you have a chance, it's really beautiful up there. So teacher training, which started in last March and once a month throughout the school year until the end of the school year. Our middle school and high school physical education teachers got trained by Wing Speed Adventure. They're the company that built the course. In addition, we also had some special guests. Our SROs, school resource officers, Jason Skillings and Kelly Tobine joined us. So it was a lot of fun. First few trainings really, it's a ropes course, so everybody thinks immediately we're going to go up on the ropes, but the first few courses were really all on safety and precautions and liability, so we really stayed on the ground. In addition to all the ropes, high elements, there's a lot to do on the ground as well, so you can see that the pictures up top are some fun little activities that we did on the ground. And then we got into the fun stuff. So later in the year, we actually got up on the course. The pictures up top is actually Kelly Tobine climbing up the pole and going across on the Burma Bridge, and she's being belayed by her colleague, Jason Skillings. And then down the bottom left is Jim Valancourt, one of our middle school PE teachers. And that's Lisa Silva and Jim Valancourt 60 feet up in the air, and Jason Skillings giving us a thumbs up as well. So just last kind of pieces of information that still need to be completed up at the adventure course. We're working on signage right now to thank everybody that made this possible. So a sign thanking obviously the Cummings Foundation and Wakefield Education Foundation and some other people such as Keith's Tree Service. We're also currently working on a name for the course. There isn't a name for the course, so we're thinking of maybe
any ideas, we'll take your
if
ideas.
anybody has any great ideas, could be a student contest, who knows. Some safety signage such as no trespassing, and then also we're working on storage to store all the helmets and the ropes and the harnesses up there. When will it be used? So right now, freshmen and sophomores should be in Project Adventure if they have physical education. The first month is used for team building activities and trust activities in the gym, and they should be heading up there within the next week or so. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're hoping to have some sort of ribbon cutting ceremony when we do get signage and hopefully bring some of the parties together that made this possible. Plans for year two. So obviously we're in year two right now. We've received the second installment. What we're planning on doing for year two is really upgrades to the physical education and fitness facilities in the elementary schools. We decided to put Walton School off for the time being just because of the construction. So we're going to wait to see how that pans out and take care of them probably in year three or year four. The Galvin Middle School also was not really a high priority at the time just because it's so new. So the schools we're really going to focus on this year are Woodville, Delaware, Greenwood, and Doyle. Some of the upgrades that are currently being made, some equipment that's already been ordered, is some supplementary rock climbing equipment for the Woodville and Delaware rock walls. So as you can see in the pictures, that's some of the equipment that we ordered. All four elementary schools also got some balance equipment and some gymnastics and climbing equipment as well. Other priorities that we're working on for year two. We're also looking at some handicap accessible playground equipment for some special needs populations of students at the Delaware and the Doyle School. So before we ordered any equipment, we wanted to really engage some of the stakeholders and meet with some of the PTs and some of the teachers that work directly with those students. So that's really our next priority. And then depending on the cost of some of that equipment, we'd also like to make upgrades to the Greenwood playground. So, and that's year two. Anything you want to add?
This is a great partnership that we, representing WEF, that we really value with the Wakefield Public Schools, and I think this Cummings Foundation process is like a great example of this partnership. Really, Brendan and I have worked together on this, and Brendan's done a lot of work. It's just been amazing. There have been some hurdles along the way, some challenges, and he's worked through those, and we've, had good communication, and so this has been a great partnership. We're thrilled about the Cummings Foundation to have been awarded that is really something special. So I'm just really excited now to see the adventure course in action, and I know that will be happening soon. So hope to get up there one day in October. Maybe that will time a ribbon cutting or something for some time in October when we can, see it in use.
Right. Well, I'll just say, this is great, and we value that partnership as well. This adventure course is something that makes Wakefield so unique, and also gives us a venue for our next school committee retreat. So, thank you for that. Yeah, you may have to name it after me. Anything from the committee, Mr. Callahan?
Has there been any definition for going forward? Who's responsible for maintaining the course up there?
In regards to the course itself?
To me, it becomes kind of like a gray area. Yeah. It's a school gym thing. Yeah. But like the DPW maintains Landrigan and Dobbins, and I don't know where that falls. Do we have the budget for it? How are we doing this?
So part of the reason why we built the course on the poles. So there's two ways to build the course. You can either build it on poles, essentially they're telephone poles. Or you can build them on actual live trees. Mm-hmm. And we went with the telephone poles. They're more expensive, but there's far less maintenance than if they were actually built on live trees. Mm-hmm. So that was a huge factor in why we chose the poles. Obviously, the physical area, is going to have to be maintained as far as if any overgrowth or brush or debris.
Poison ivy comes back.
Poison ivy, exactly. But as far as the actual physical structure, that was really the whole reason why we chose the poles, is because there's not as much maintenance involved. So there is, to answer the question, there isn't really a solid plan in place for the natural area, but as far as the actual structure, there is very little maintenance with it.
Do they require annual inspections?
Yes. So the company that built our course, Wing Speed Adventure, they're also a licensed inspector in the state of Massachusetts, so they're going to come out here once a year to inspect our course and our equipment.
Do you have to get quotes for that, or? I'm assuming that this first year it's included.
Yeah,
probably,
there's only a few inspectors that really do work in Massachusetts. The ones that come to mind are obviously Wing Speed, who we had, and Project Adventure out of Beverly, and High Five Adventure, but they're way up in Vermont, so they really don't do much work down here. So.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. Is this something that we anticipate, or I don't know if there's precedence for this, that other districts or groups may then like to use when we're not using it?
So I actually had this conversation with one of our teachers, Lisa Silva. She's really loves this. She really got into the training. And I kind of threw it out to her. I said this could be potentially maybe a summer job for her. Mm-hmm. I haven't talked to Mike about it yet, but I can only imagine that other schools might want to come here and pay money to do different team building activities, because I know other schools do that. They go to Project Adventure in Beverly. So this could potentially be a moneymaker for the district as well.
Right.
I just to add to that, in writing the grant, we wrote that our vision is that more of the students than just the high school would have access to this. So at this point, just having a grand opening, we're really focusing on the phys ed courses here that are adventure courses, which I think freshmen, sophomore, and seniors.
Yeah, we're talking about adding it into senior wellness.
But I hope that the next step would be within district of finding other ways, maybe through Wakefield Academy or the recreation department, or finding ways that other schools could come over, whether it's on a field day or something. I'm not sure, but we had hoped that we could open this to students from all our schools here. We just have to kind of figure out how that will happen.
Yeah, I've already spoken to Dan McGrath, the Wakefield Recreation Director, as well as Jeff Boyd, Wakefield Academy Director, and I would love to see them run some type of program. Their, I guess, top concern right now is finding someone that's certified to teach the course, which our teachers are, but there's not a lot of other people out there. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Massey.
Just thinking back to phys ed class, I did have Project Adventure as well. As much as I love the sports aspect of it, that was important too. But I also love the Project Adventure aspect too. And if you could you run us through a couple examples of different activities that would go on over here?
Yeah, so there's actually so much in the course that you can do. It's tough to really see everything in the picture. So if you go up there, there's actually 4 poles, and it makes a big square. And across the 4 poles, there's connecting each pole is an element. And so there's 4 high elements, there's 4 medium elements, and there's 4 low elements. And if you can see in the picture, it's kind of tough to tell. Kelly Tobine in the bottom middle, she's going across a mid-level element, the Burma Bridge, and then to the right of her is Jim Valancourt on a high element. So there's kind of 3 levels depending on your comfort level. Mm-hmm. Some students might choose to stay on the ground. Some students might choose to go 30 feet up, and some students might choose to go all the way 60 feet in the air. But there's, it's going to fill up the entire semester. Just one element could fill one class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. And you know what? I love the team building aspect of it too.
Yeah.
I think it actually does make a difference. So something different, and I think the kids will enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't want to take up too much more time, but the bottom right is actually a really cool element. So Jim Valancourt is up on a plank, and what you can't see is all the other teachers. There's ropes hanging on each side of the plank. All the other teachers are down at the bottom, and they have to balance the plank as he walks across. Because as he walks across, his weight tips the plank. So there's like 3 teachers on one side, 3 teachers on the other, and they're tugging more back and forth, trying to keep Jim up straight. And it was just a great team building activity.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Markham.
Thank you. I just want to very quickly add, this is a wonderful addition to the phys ed, to the curriculum and to the offerings of the school. So this is pretty exciting. We'll certainly be looking forward to seeing it rolled out. I wholeheartedly would support this being something for the entire district, every school to get a piece of or have some time at, and even seeing what the broader community. This is something that is not an uncommon part of lots of business sort of environments or professional development days or staff development days out. So there is certainly a market beyond just our what would be our sort of standard school day. It would be really a shame to see such a great resource go unused. But certainly great thanks to WEF, of course. You guys just make so many things happen day in and day out, and we should be ever mindful of that and ever grateful for that. So thanks for all this work.
Elizabeth, did you want to mention the new online grant application?
Yes, I did. This is very exciting for WEF this year that we're launching a new process with the application for grants, and that is online. So we're finally kind of getting up to date on that. And So this is our first cycle happening right now. The applications are being accepted now as of last week until October 23rd. So Colleen Guida is our Director of Grants on our Board of Directors. So she really has been done the work behind this. She and Andy Bray has also been very helpful in making this happen. So Colleen emailed all the principals last week about the process for them to share with their staff. So we're looking forward to having, many applications and have it kind of streamline the process for teachers and for us in our review process to have it all online. We are anticipating of awarding about $26,000 worth of grants this year. So we hope we have many. We have one so far submitted from Dolbear, Colleen told me today. So I just wanted to let you know about that. And then on a totally different note, I wanted to give you the date for the next adult spelling bee, because I know you want to be there. We were thrilled to see many of you at our first adult spelling bee, and hopefully you'll be able to come next year. It's on March 2nd. Thank you. March 2nd. So start studying.
Is it going to be spelling bee or trivia?
A little bit of both. But we've gotten feedback that we can't make the questions quite so hard.
Well, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I invite Brendan to stay and invite Catherine Dinger up to present our Youth Risk Behavior Survey results.
Do you want to start?
You can go.
All right. Thanks for having us. So this year's Youth Risk Behavior Survey is a little different. It's a different scenario because of a funding opportunity that came through Leahy Health. So we were able to do a regional Youth Risk Behavior Survey. So that is something that we've always wanted to do because we're wondering, how do we compare to similar communities? So because of Leahy Health's funding, they were able to hire John Snow, Inc. to come in, and they're kind of one of the pillars of public health evaluation. So we're lucky to have them right here in Boston. So they were able to do the evaluation for the entire Middlesex League. So this has been kind of a year in the making on the process with Dr. Smith and the other superintendents and JSI. So just a quick overview. The survey was administered in April 2017 to students in 7th through 12th grade. So the same data set that we've been doing the last few years. And we're really fortunate in our region to have 5 after the past 5 years, we have 3 data sets. So we're going to show you throughout the presentation some of that, and that's unique. A lot of people don't have back-to-back data because we're supposed to do it every other year, but since we did it in 2016, we have back-to-back data years. As you know, it's a survey developed by the Centers for Disease Control. It's a validated survey. A lot of times people say, oh, students lie, or the data can't be trusted, and there's so many factors in place to rule out things. They even put in fake questions, so if a student says, oh, I do a fake drug, their survey gets tossed if there's a pattern emerging. And this year we did it online, so we were fortunate that Wakefield Public Schools had the capacity to do it online, and we didn't have the kind of fear a lot of other districts had. We were able to take that on, and we're really fortunate that our administrators were able to make that happen. So JSI worked with us on what survey questions we wanted included, picked ones for all of the districts, and then we were able to add about 15 questions. So Brendan and the administrators and I kind of got together and said, what are the key questions that we want to know about Wakefield? And we're able to add that. And this year it was funded by Leahy Health, and we're going to see how that works in years to come. So hopefully they'll continue to fund the data. So we do have, unfortunately, it's not all great news. You're going to see in the data we have some concerning data trends that Brendan and I will be talking about. Vaping and e-cigarette use is rising at alarming rates both at the high school and at the Galvin, and we want to talk a little bit about that. Another thing is marijuana use has increased significantly over the past year. So we have that 2016, 2017. We'll talk a little bit about that, and also that the fact that marijuana use while driving has increased. And we'll talk about the environmental factors there. The number of youth reporting that they have a trusted adult at the high school has decreased somewhat significantly. And then Galvin bullying increased, and it's higher than the Middlesex League. So those were kind of the concerning data trends that we just wanted to point out, because there were a lot of positive things, but we want to kind of take a look at what we can do together. So I'm just going to go through the high school substance use data. So this is what we were talking about with the vaping. So you can see the past 30-day cigarette use has really declined over the past 6 years, going back from 16% in 2011 all the way down to 6% last year. So that regular cigarette use has gone down, but when we see the vaping is very concerning. And as someone that looks at public health data all the time, you rarely see data jumps like this. So that's something that we're really concerned about. And actually, Kaya, do you see the little envelope over there? If you don't mind grabbing it. We just wanted to show you some of it's a little manila envelope. Yes. So we're really concerned about the vaping, and we just wanted to, Brendan, I just wanted to show you some of the vaping devices that are typically found at the high school and the middle school. You can just pass them around. Some are larger devices like this, and these are all. And then a very popular one is something called a Juul, and this is what it looks like. So you might have seen them, but if a parent were to come across one, they might just think it's an extra USB drive or something like that, and it does. It has the removable cartridge for the vaping liquid, and a lot of times you'll hear from students, oh, it's just water vapor, and that is rarely the case. It usually contains nicotine, and that's important. If you go back to that data set, you see for the first time our regular cigarette use going back up. So students are using these at such high rates, they're becoming addicted to nicotine, and we hear it from the student leaders all the time that it's happening in the cars before school, it's happening in the bathrooms. It's not like the old days where, I'd go to the bathroom at school and you'd have to plug your nose because people were smoking in there. It smells like, oh, someone just used strawberry lip balm. So it's a different thing. So we'll talk about some of the ways we want to educate parents, teachers, and our students about that. So we just wanted you to be aware of that data trend. Did you have anything to say about that?
I think I will get into perception of harm, but there's just a huge misconception that it's a healthy alternative, or it's actually a way off of smoking. There's a ton of advertisements that promote it as a healthy alternative to smoking, and that's what we're really trying to educate our students on misinformation that they're getting out there.
And we tried to break down the numbers in some cases. So you see in 2017, 377 students at the high school had reported that they've tried vaping. So pretty high rates. And then we're going to transition into marijuana use. As we know, in 2016, recreational marijuana became legal here in Massachusetts, and you can kind of see the impact right away here in Wakefield. Again, you don't see public health data jumps like that. We were pretty consistent. We were actually trending down with past 30-day marijuana use. And the reason we use past 30 days, that gives us an idea of who are our regular users there. So when we're looking at, almost 30% of the high school student body, and we're talking about academic performance, and we all know what marijuana does to a developing brain and what it does for motivation and what it does. So we're talking about 30% of our students had used marijuana in the last 30 days, and we say used because we're not talking about just smoking. And we can see it's significantly higher than the rest of the Middlesex League. Although I've talked to my colleagues in Reading and Winchester, and they're seeing it increase dramatically from their last data set to this year's data set. And then we just kind of wanted to point out again, the using marijuana is really trending away from the traditional kind of marijuana joints or smoking with a pipe to the vaping. So 30% of people that use vapes will use them for THC. The edibles, something unfortunately we've seen a lot in the high school, and like the gummy worms and the Swedish fish and gummy bears.
Yeah, and obviously you can see the top left picture, they're marketed towards children. I mean, you're not putting it in a fake candy wrapper for 55-year-old. You're going after those teenage students, and that's kind of the fight that we're up against right now. So
yeah, and a lot of our students might have parents who have medicinal marijuana at home, or might be starting to purchase it. So that's just something that we're starting to think about. How do we address this not only with our students but with our families in the community? And then, as you can see, kind of this concerning on the left is the driving while using marijuana. We had 25% of students state that they drove while using marijuana, and that again, that gets back to that perception of harm. They've gotten the message loud and clear about drinking and driving. Well, most of them have, but that's one area where they think, oh, I drive better. They haven't got that message yet, so we're really concerned about that. And then we can see, so alcohol use remains right about the same. It's something that we're still addressing, right around where the rest of the Middlesex League is. And past 30-day prescription drug use, right about the same, something that we're, trying to get an understanding of pain relief abuse versus Adderall. Things sometimes our higher performing students will abuse that. And then this just gives us an idea of the grade breakdown, so you can kind of look through that. And Brendan and I always talk about this because they get the health education, they get a lot of the messages early on, and then they start to engage in the riskier behavior. So do they have the opportunity to talk about how they're processing, and when they get to those points where they're starting to drive and they're starting to go to parties more. So that's what we just want. And you can see the marijuana use by grade, past 30-day. And then this is a big indicator, the perception of risk of harm, and you can just kind of see the two lowest are smoking marijuana and using e-cigarettes. So the more you can raise that perception of risk, the less likely they are to engage in it. And then parental disapproval is another thing that we want to that we measure, and letting parents know that they are the biggest factor in whether their student uses or not. So it's those messages that they're talking about, that they're talking, and they're talking often, and that they're disapproving. So they're saying that's not something that we do in our family. So we, as the health department, try to do a lot of that with parents, kind of empowering them, working with the athletic department to say, you really are an important piece of this prevention strategy. And then quickly we'll go through the Galvin data. So you can, again, see the same thing. And this shows kind of the validity of the data, where you're seeing that big jump again in the vaping for our middle school students. So these are 7th and 8th graders. So I just, I know a lot of these kids, and that really scares me when we see them. And Andrew Tetrall, unfortunately, was going to be here tonight, but he couldn't, and he has a drawer full of these vapor products that he's confiscated.
I think one of the issues that we're having, both parents and educators, is these new products keep hitting the market every other day, and it's really difficult to keep up with it. I was meeting with one of our health teachers, Melissa Souza, the other day, and the video that she had just bought 2 or 3 years ago on e-cigarettes is completely outdated now. It's not even current. So just keeping up with the times, it's really difficult. Especially around e-cigarettes, and I know we're not on marijuana use, but right now, but the change with the laws has really made it difficult for our law enforcement to regulate it, and you're seeing it trickle into the schools. So.
And then you can see again the marijuana use kind of trickling back up, and about the same as the Middlesex League. It is helpful to have that data because we compare it against the state, and it is different. So it's helpful to have that Middlesex League comparison data. And again, our perception of harm. And these are just some of the strategies that we've implemented in the past year. I know you're aware of some of them, but just to kind of review, we are really, it's a real partnership between the health department, the schools, and the police department, really working together to not only look at this data, but all the anecdotal data from our health teachers, from our administrators, from our youth action team members like Kaya, who are really helpful at both the middle school and the high school level to give us those stories that, the student vaping in the middle of class when the teacher turns around. We wouldn't have that picture without them. I know, do you want to talk about the health?
Health, yes. So this year we're actually doubling the amount of health education in the Wakefield Public Schools. So we're going from 4 grades to 8 grades. 3 of those grades are at the elementary level, kindergarten, 1st grade, and 2nd grade. But at the 6th grade, we're piloting an evidence-based substance abuse prevention curriculum, the Michigan model. It's actually developed by the state of Michigan, their Department of Health. Again, it's evidence-based. It's on SAMHSA's list of recommended curricula to use. In addition to that, we also have 5th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade health. A lot of that, the education around substance abuse has to do with refusal skills, and not only the knowledge piece, but what to do with the knowledge, what to do if you're at a party and someone offers you, a drink or something, how to get yourself out of that situation. Right now, obviously, we're constantly in communication with the health teachers about how can we expand the amount of health education. And I know we talked with Dr. Smith and Rich Metropolis about that, so it's definitely something we're continuing to explore.
So some of the other strategies is using our peer leaders to educate all the 9th graders on vaping and kind of raising that perception of harm. A lot of marketing, kind of not everyone is doing it to kind of flip the YRBS data. We did the youth came up with this majority rules, 8 out of 10 campaign around marijuana use, which was our data. Now we'd have to change that. But the youth really had a hard time buying the data. They were like, that is not true. I mean, Kaya, they heard it a lot, and that actually goes to show that they do have this misperceived perception that everyone is doing it, and it's not so bad. So really trying to change that perception that most people are making the healthy choice. So if you are making the healthy choice, you're in the norm, because that's what adolescents want. And then a lot of other campaigns and working with the athletic department on sports orientation nights. Every time we go to present, I always get a bunch of parents emailing and calling for resources afterwards. So it's great to hear that connection, and coaches are really stepping up what they're trained in and talking to their athletes.
Maureen Busby did a great job.
Yep, this year. getting information out to parents through the Health and Safety Guide and our Parent University. And then for the next 2 years, we're going to be doing the SBIRT screening with all 7th and 9th graders. That's the state mandate. We're currently working with our school nurses on that, increasing educational opportunity for 10th to 12th graders. We are hoping to implement a school-based substance use diversion program for youth that get caught in the school, not getting suspended, but having that diversion process where they're having an education component. And hopefully we'll be presenting on that later in the school year. Increasing the number of students referred to the SAFE project, which is a kind of a case management program, really working on our community norms around alcohol, developing a quarterly teacher newsletter, and then we're in the process of, we have a committee established to look at Senior Week and really working with our faculty advisors and student leaders to look at Senior Week, take away this tradition of the prom houses, and really kind of making sure that that week has a lot of points where students have to be connected, so they can't go away to New Hampshire for 48 hours and have some positive opportunities after prom. So we're really excited, and hopefully we'll be presenting on that soon as well. Just our updates on mental health. So here we have the high school suicidal thinking. This is always really hard data to look at because when you look at those numbers, it's youth that are really hurting and wondering if they're accessing help. So fortunately, those numbers are trending down. We'd like to see them at 0, but they're back from being high. They're trending in the right direction. And the emotional well-being and self-harm. That's still something that we need to educate parents and faculty on, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And then again, those protective factors. Something that we were concerned about is that students that reported that they had a teacher or adult to talk to in school. We want to look at that because that's 120 less students from last year that reported they had a trusted adult in the high school. So what are some strategies that can be developed around that? And then Galvin data, again, trending in the right direction, fortunately. You're going to see there's a lot that's been done. And then, again, those protective factors, really looking at the risk and the protective factors together. Strategies implemented in the last couple of years. You've heard a lot about them at the past school committee meetings. We have the very vibrant district behavioral health team that meets monthly. We have a suicide prevention coalition that's launched a number of initiatives. We have the local graduate schools have school psychologist interns at each level to work with students, and I know that provides a lot. I know my own son participates in a lunch bunch group with the school psychologist that he loves, and it really helps him work out some issues that he's having at school. So those are huge. That's a huge piece that's helped our student support staff. And now we've developed a WPS strategy for social emotional health and learning. The interface referral program is really working well. That's something that the school in town splits the cost of, and we've had over 130 student referrals. That's students being matched with a mental health professional. So we're excited about that. We've had youth mental health first aid, over 100 faculties already certified. Faculty received Mental Health 101 last year. And then we've got that vibrant student support website. Elliott Crisis Management is a huge partner. Having the Galvin full-time guidance counselor, I've never seen her not busy. She is fantastic, and it's just a great resource, and we're fortunate we had that added to the budget. The student support outreach at the Galvin, and then just more workshops for parents around supporting their youth. Goals for the next few years?
Yeah, so I just want to speak about that data very quickly. When I came on 2 years ago, this was probably the most concerning piece of data that I saw. And I know our district has been very, very gung-ho on addressing this. Dr. Smith's been very supportive. Catherine, Kelly Cunningham, Jason Levine, the whole staff at both the high school and middle school. So it is still alarming data, but it's great to see that it's trending in the down direction. So hopefully what we're doing is making an impact. The goals for the next few years are just, first of all, to continue what we've already established, to develop an action plan and a social, emotional health and learning strategy, develop a SEL leadership team to monitor our strategy implementation, youth mental health first aid added to the 5-part series, which 5-part series will begin tomorrow. Implement a K-12 SEL social emotional learning curriculum in health classes in elementary schools. So I already mentioned that we're adding kindergarten, first grade, and second grade this year. The focus is going to be on SEL social emotional learning. And the research has shown that the earlier you can address this and teach students, the better outcomes you have in the future. So that's what we're hoping for. And to look into a universal mental health screening. Sexual behavior. So students that have had sexual intercourse, obviously you can see it trends up with each grade. As the students get older, they typically engage in riskier behavior. Again, there's also the issue of lack of health education at the higher grades, so whether that has an impact or not can be up for debate. Of those students who are sexually active, those that used the condom during last sexual intercourse on the left, and those that drank alcohol or drugs before the last sexual intercourse on the right. Violence and bullying. So at the high school, our data unfortunately has gone up online. In school has gone down, which is not uncommon with the digital age. Seeing a lot more cyberbullying and students, actually doing it online through social media rather than face-to-face. We still are slightly above the Middle Six League average, which is concerning. Which is positive is that our in-school bullying is trending down from 21% just a few years ago down to 14% in 2017. Some still alarming data, sexual contact against one's will, 7.9% last year, which if you do the math is 66 students at the high school. So that's still a very, very alarming piece of data. Dating someone that was hurt physically is right around the Middle Six League average, as well as dating someone that's hurt sexually. And no 2017 data for someone that's hurt physically and sexually. At the Galvin, online bullying has increased as well as in school. And I know Adam Colantoni, I've talked to him, he's really kind of heartbroken on this. The middle school has done so much around this, and to see the data go up is really disheartening. Some of the things that they are doing to address this, Andrew Tetrault, unfortunately, he's not here. He had to leave, but he mentioned they're using their advisory block to address this year. They're planning on house meetings once a month, and what that means is Andrew will meet with the 7th and 8th grade once a month. Jenny Coyne, the other assistant principal, will meet with the 5th and 6th grade once a month, and this is going to be a major topic that they address throughout the course of the school year. They're also talking about implementing a monthly guest speaker at the middle school during some of those advisory blocks, and really the point of the monthly speaker would be to develop some type of culture built upon respect, obviously combating bullying. A lot of things that they're already doing. They have a leadership summit at the end of the school year, at the beginning of the school year, the last few weeks in August, 2-day summit. It's open to any 8th graders, and they're trained on how to be leaders. And they do really nice things, such as they go around the school and write on little sticky notes nice messages and just put them on random students' lockers. And they go in the library and they slip one in a book, so when a student opens up the book, they see a nice note. Just simple random acts of kindness to try to develop a positive culture there. Some of the other strategies is to get faculty participation on WAVE, which we have plenty of faculty participation. Galvin High School health curriculum. Right now they're using Health Smart. We are looking into the Michigan model, which is an evidence-based model. The diversity leaders are trained in the ADL curriculum, and also in the middle school also established an ADL leadership group as well. The yellow dress is shown each year to the 11th grade on an annual basis, and as I just mentioned, the Galvin 8th grade leadership orientation. Goals for the next few years. A few years ago, the New England Patriots donated $500,000 to the Attorney General's office to implement the MVP program in districts across Massachusetts. We applied. We were very fortunate to be one of the schools selected. We were one of 90 schools selected for Phase 1. We then applied for Phase 2. We were one of 15 school districts selected for Phase 2. And I just recently applied for Phase 3, and we were selected for Phase 3. So what Phase 1 gave us was training for 2 staff members and access to the curriculum. Phase 2 gave us training for 30 students to be trained on a 3-day training from the trainers at Northeastern University to form an MVP program here. And then Phase 3, we got training for 2 additional staff members as well as $3,000 to help support our MVP club. So really excited. That's being rolled out this year, and Kim Margolis, teacher at the high school, is our faculty advisor. Also, Rad Kids over the summer. I know Jason Skillings was talking about how great that was in Rad for high school women. Physical activity. So students who are physically active 60 minutes for 5 days or more. Which really, saying before, this is kind of shocking to me. I thought the number would be much higher. We do have very high numbers for students that play video games. So obviously, as Director of Athletics, Health and Wellness is something that I want to address. At the Galvin, our numbers are actually very good. Our numbers at the Galvin are higher than the Middlesex League average and higher than the state average. So our Galvin numbers around physical activity are very good. High school, not so great. And in conclusion, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. Just in conclusion, we want to increase parent education around new trends. We've actually got some great videos that are about to launch that our youth action team has created around vaping that the high school principal and the vice principal are going to send out, and we're also going to give them to teachers. How do they get their vapes? There's a great one of Jared going and buying a gift card with cash, going online, ordering it, and then getting the Amazon box before parents come home. So that's how they tell us they get them, because we're like, now it's 21. So how do they access them? And then what are some of the different devices and the health concerns around them? And really doing things to really reach parents, because it is hard, especially once they get to high school. Again, exploring that health education curriculum for 10th through 12th grade students, evaluating after we do this first year of SBIRT. I know a lot of districts have tried, so we've actually brought in other districts that have already done a year to do coaching sessions with our nurses and our support staff that are going to be doing the SBIRT. So we'll evaluate that and report out. And then, really maximize the use of mental health support systems now in place. And as we said, expanding those bullying and violence prevention strategies. So.
Anything from the committee? Ms. Ford.
In terms of the data, is there any way to break it down by
A ranking system?
Well, by who the kids are who are reporting? Kids who identify, as their gender identity might be, non-mainstream, or girls, boys, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so there's a way we can, if anyone wants to know kind of data sets, and we do some of that, we will, cross-tab. So we'll say, is there a relation between suicidal ideation and drug use? So we'll do those cross-tabs, or break it down by gender or sexual identity or anything like that. So we can kind of get a sense and then kind of start to target, or not target, but kind of enhance our programming for students that might need more support. But yeah, if anyone's curious in crosstabs, we'd be happy to. I'm not sure how the contract works with JSI this year, but in the past they've been able to do that.
Mr. Leon.
Thanks, Rob. So first, just a couple of comments. I think it's important just to recognize how vital the work that you're doing is to the success of our students. And we've really made a lot of investments in social and emotional learning over the last couple of years, and these are really important. We know that this is a foundation for learning and for healthy growth for our young people. But obviously, you presented us with a lot of data tonight, tremendous amount of information, and some of it troubling, right? So, I was thinking about this. I think everybody knows my wife for many years was a school social worker, and I'm looking at the staffing structures we have, especially at the middle school and the high school, and largely, right, we rely on. We don't have any social workers, right, in the high school or in the middle school. The role of the social worker. So you have the guidance counselors are doing a lot of the work, school psychologists doing a lot of the work, and then you have the general staff doing a lot of work. The school social worker takes a more holistic approach, right, to student wellness, psychological wellness, family wellness, right? And when you think about all the things that you're looking at here, right, between drug use, alcohol use, tobacco, sexual activity, violence, these are the kinds of things that that a school social worker could tackle, and because they are uniquely equipped, I think, among the various levels of expertise to address that whole sort of range of issues. So just throwing it out there that perhaps as we think about long-term budget planning, you're talking about, goals maximizing mental health support systems now in place, but we may need to think about maybe there's a different model. And my understanding, I could be wrong, but this may be something to explore, is that some of our neighboring communities, Melrose and Reading, have employed the social worker model. And so we may be able to learn from their successes. Just a thought. And then, secondly, I was wondering, I don't want to put you on the spot, Kaya, but wondered if, you're looking at this data, you've been through, you see all these trends that a lot of these behaviors, increase from 9th grade to 12th grade. Now you've been through that with your peers.
Right.
Probably a lot of it is not surprising to you, but is there anything that you see tonight that that surprises you, or that something like from your own experiences in school that you could share with us that could help us understand what we could do to kind of reverse some of these things?
Well, to be honest with you, a lot of the tobacco and marijuana data, that's not super surprising to me. Looking at with the youth action team and the work we did last year, it was pretty evident that there was going to be a dramatic change in the data this year. I think the most surprising one to me is probably the mental health statistics. It's scary to think about the idea that many people are in such a shaky mental state, especially at one of the most important and what's supposed to be one of the most great times of your life. But in a sense, it does make sense because of the pressures of college and everything that kids are under. And we talk about a lot of mental health things in Youth Action Team too. And I think a lot of the stress from school and what comes after high school, and with the online bullying component as well. So in a sense, it makes sense, but it's still it's scary to see that many people are thinking that way.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
This data was collected in April?
Spring, April, yes.
Because, our community had a very difficult summer. And I'd have to be concerned that some of these numbers might have actually gotten worse, given the people trying to cope with everything that happened. But I guess overall, the thing that jumps out at me is why, what are other communities doing that we're missing? why are we in a more difficult spot than the rest of the Middlesex League if they all had the same questions, taken at the same time? Why do we have higher rates amongst our students? I mean, where is the difference? I'm trying to understand that. I mean, I always have felt that, like, kids were kids, and when you get a larger enough population, you're going to get, and the averages will kind of carry over community to community. So I don't know what other communities in the league are doing that we're missing the boat on. I'm sure you've looked into that.
Yeah, you can go. I was just going to say, a lot of these are averages, so it doesn't necessarily mean we're first or second, and that's not belittling the fact that it's very alarming that we are above the average. For me, I was some of the ones, like for example, the vaping, we were considerably above the average. That's very alarming. A lot of the data points were 1 or 2 percentage points above the average, and that's not, to say that we don't want to be below the average. I want to be the lowest out of all 12 communities. But to me, the ones that were the most alarming are the ones where we were considerably above the average. And I know that doesn't answer your question.
Yeah, I said no.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned like there were 15 questions we asked that maybe were unique to us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that they may have affected the data outcomes in comparison to other communities that didn't ask those questions? Did you ask a lot more questions about vaping, and maybe Melrose and Stoneham didn't? That's.
I think the only thing we added around vaping was around perception of harm, because we just wanted to get a sense of if that's changed, because we had it in our last survey. I'm not, I don't see that really impacting the youth behavior, because whether we added questions or not, there's just, when you look at public health data, there's a lot of factors. I mean, obviously, why are we higher? Some of the strategies are just everybody coming together, everybody raising their game, parents raising their game, the school raising their game, teachers being, putting the messages out there. So I think everyone kind of needs to step up a little bit and really kind of take a look at some of this data and say, really kind of evaluate what we're doing. Are we referring enough students at an early on that are demonstrating a little bit of need to another evaluation? So are they getting that screening? So we can say, what, this student might need a little more help. I'm not sure we're there yet compared to some other districts. So that's something I'd like to see more of.
And another question I had, you touched upon the prom houses. And that's clearly something, I would like to see us work on alternatives. I think that years ago, I think we had something like an after prom thing in the field house. That it was before prom houses were popular. And when do you think there might be a better formula, like a better plan in place before people start making reservations?
So I know there is a committee together that's working on this.
Yep.
I believe.
So we've had 3 or so meetings already, and it consists of the advisors, members of the senior class, and a number of parents, many of whom are leaders in the community, are president of booster clubs and stuff, so we have a lot of experience fundraising and organizing. So we're in the process of just finalizing what night prom's going to be on, and then we'll kind of all the other pieces will fall into place. But even at back to school night on Thursday night, we're going to have an information about our first public meeting, because then we'll have all that information. So we're going to be communicating to parents there is going to be a new plan to senior week and senior night, and this is when the first meeting is going to be. But we hope to go public soon, but we're working with our different, all the different kind of...
I realize it feels early, but
Yeah,
my,
but that's exactly what we said, though. We said we've got to get it out at back to school night, that there is something being planned. We're going to, the students, we said something about the field house, and they said, not the field house. So we're going to tour Dave and Buster's tomorrow, and they actually host these types of things. And we already had Melrose Grad Night come in and do a presentation on how they kind of organize and everything. So there have been some wonderfully passionate parents and students and community leaders kind of.
It just seems like that whole concept is kind of gotten into like the one-upmanship.
And I'm a parent of elementary school students, so a lot of times when elementary school parents hear it, they're like, what happens the senior year? And then the senior parents are like, please change it, because I don't want you to have to go through what we went through.
And so many parents are afraid to be the bad guy that says no.
Yeah, and that's the other thing we have to work on is giving kind of empowering parents and kind of letting them know that this is ultimately falls to you. So,
I know that's something that Dr. Smith and myself have talked about at great length, is doing something to empower the parents to say no, and maybe doing something even freshman year where you're not waiting until senior year, because if you wait till senior year, it's tough. They've been saying yes and giving in for 4 years, and so doing something around empowering parents to say no to their kids. It's difficult. It can be difficult when every other parent is saying yes.
Yeah, and it just seems like we have to have something known in place before deposits get start putting down on houses, and it's already gotten away from us.
Could you explain what a prom house is? I don't know what a prom house is. Sorry. I think I've got the idea, but so this is houses the kids rent to party after the prom? Mm-hmm. Got it. All right.
Mr. Mark?
Thank you. So again, thank you very much for staying on top of this and assembling the data and running the survey. I think it was just a wonderful addition to be able to include the other communities. So we certainly want to thank Leahy Clinic for being able to fund this project. That's something that we have talked about in past presentations. So yeah, some of the data points seem particularly concerning as they have, and some of those seem to be deeper concerns. I have a couple of questions, if I may. 3 actually. One on the perception of risk of harm. Help refresh my memory that these percentages are all fairly high. So does that mean that the perception of harm is high, but we still do it anyways? Or the perception of harm is actually low? It's the converse. So it's 76% actually means that 24% only think it's high. Help me understand the math on this.
Means that,
and I'm a math guy, so I'm sorry.
It means that 24% don't think it's harmful. Am I saying that correctly?
Mm-hmm,
yes.
mm-hmm.
So actually, you want the perception of harm to be higher. Correct.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you want it depends on how that question is asked. I think the alcohol one is drinking every day 5 alcohol, drinks of an alcoholic beverage. So that perception is, a lot of students see that as harmful, versus, these are the questions that have been asked year after year, so we can't change them. So that's maybe why that's a little higher than, say, the marijuana. But the fact that our perception of marijuana since 2011 has dropped so much, it
has
just
to do with the legalization.
And just the messages they're getting around marijuana.
Am I right in saying that the higher the perception of harm typically correlates with lower risky behaviors?
Yes.
Right? So that's why we want the numbers to be as high as we want kids to perceive them as harmful.
Because it's just that another barrier to maybe think twice before doing it. So, and I mean, it gets back to that the ropes course. They want to do risky things. They want that, that's where they're at, developmentally, and that's when you can put in the ropes courses. You can put in all those positive risks. You can going to Switzerland. All these things where they're really kind of pushing themselves, and you want to find those opportunities as much as possible, because that's how they're wired to take those risks.
Okay, so then my read is as concerning as I represented. That because in both the cases of alcohol and marijuana, I'm looking at the Galvin statistics, although the high school statistics were fairly similar. In both in alcohol use and marijuana use, the perception of risk of harm went down, and we are seeing we're seeing, unfortunately, that use is increasing.
Yeah.
So that is even more troublesome. Okay, so all right. That's question one. Thank you. The second thing that was concerning, not that lots of pieces of data weren't, so I don't mean to say they were greater among equals, but in my mind there were, as I was reviewing the data, and then when your examples tonight, are the protective factors at both the high school and the Galvin. That's particularly concerning to me. So maybe that's something that we could ask all the superintendent and others to be thoughtful about what may have occurred in the last 24 months or 12 months that has really impacted that. That's something that we have put lots of time and energy and resource, obviously perhaps not enough, but lots of supports in place, so we thought we have, and then for our young people to say that they don't have a trusted adult in either the Galvin or the percentage going down, which is unfortunate in both buildings.
Right.
So that's particularly troublesome to me.
And that was something we actually asked the youth action team. We asked them, who is your trusted adult, and what are those qualities that they see? And then, do you have a friend, or can you think of someone that doesn't have a trusted adult, and why? And talk about what adults in the school can do to be more of a trusted adult. And they came out with a fabulous list that we're going to put in that teacher newsletter and kind of share it. But I don't know, that's if you want to say anything more about that.
I mean, yeah, it didn't really make sense to me because, like you said, I didn't really remember anything, like no event in particular that changed the way that people were thinking about trusted adults at the high school or at the Galvin. So it is weird that there was such a large drop in the amount of time. But yeah, we made a list of ways that teachers can reach out to their students or connect more to their students in a way that's not, I'm the teacher, you're the student, more like I care about you, or I'm on your side, or things like that. And we're putting that out in the bathrooms of the I think the faculty bathrooms, and in their newsletter, like their news boxes. So just trying to fix that one way is what we're doing.
So if that's something that could be shared with us, I'd be very interested in seeing that, or even in some ways incorporating it into some mechanism to get in front of some parents. Not that we don't want to hide any piece of data that's valuable for parent learning to help their own children, but certainly the ability for parents to continue to encourage their own children to reach out as they need to an adult in the building. So I'd be very interested in having us pursue that particular issue with some depth. My third question is around back to the Galvin around around bullying, and that number seemed alarming to me as it went up. But as I was thinking about it a bit, so this is a question, not I guess a hypothesis, perhaps. Might that be an indication of a function of increased awareness around bullying, which we could perhaps attribute as a good thing? I mean, I as a former high school administrator, I recall once we started to do a better job at increasing our policy around, say, detentions. The rate of detentions went up. Didn't necessarily mean that we had any more offenses than we used to, but all of a sudden we're now paying attention to policy. We're handing out detentions more, so it all of a sudden shot up. My point is it a function of awareness, or are we truly seeing a different environment at the middle school?
I actually went over this data with the health teachers this
Good.
Monday at our department meeting, and they actually brought up the same exact point. They questioned whether it's because I know they have been doing a lot of awareness around bullying, And they said our kids are just more aware of it now because actually our middle school health teachers did a daily check-in through Google Classroom where they asked them a question. I believe the question was, did you observe bullying today? What type of bullying, and did you do something about it? So they asked that, is it just a factor of them being more aware of it now? I don't know, I just know what the data is.
So if there's any way to ascertain that there's a correlation there, if there's not, there's not. I mean, it is what it is. But if there's any way to ascertain that, even if it becomes anecdotal, to have that as part of your dialogue, because that's actually a positive. If it's not, I don't want us to make up raw speculation. But if there's something that we can make that correlation, that also then can demonstrate that there's an effective part of the awareness campaign that is driving people paying attention and being more astute to impact on their friends and each other. Thank you all.
Mr. Massey.
I would also agree with Tom. Two things that were very disturbing was the Galvin bullying and the Galvin fact that kids didn't have a trusted adult in the school. And I think it really kind of hasn't changed since I've been in middle school too, because I feel like at the Galvin or in middle school in general, the numbers were always high, or at least it felt high, like there was more bullying, there wasn't a trusted adult you could talk to. So kind of going off of Greg's point, I don't know if it takes a social worker or not, but we got to motivate the people on the front lines, which is the teachers, administration, guidance counselors, to really, speak up when there's something going on and make these kids feel comfortable that they can go to them. And I just think that middle school is the prime chance to fix a lot of the problems with bullying, and it'll kind of carry over into the high school if we kind of change the mindset a little bit. So I just feel like it's kind of too bad it hasn't really changed since I've been in middle school, and hopefully we can continue the urgency. At least the Galvin administration is trying now, so we'll see what happens. But
thank you. I just have a few brief remarks. The first is I just want to, obviously, gratitude, because, I often say there's nothing more important we do than protect student safety, and this is part of it. And secondly, I want to highlight Kaya and folks like you, because I think the importance of peer leaders is huge. It's one thing for the teachers or for the admin or for whomever in authority to be saying, knock that off, cut that out, here are the dangers. But when you hear it from a student or a peer, it's more impactful. And I think that's true across all of these data points. The second point I want to make is, Mr. Kent, you mentioned briefly the change in marijuana law that happened a year ago, and part of the argument against that was that it would increase access to students, or to children in general, to youth. And there was pushback from that. Frankly, there's pushback to that nationally. I think this data that we saw tonight puts that to rest. Increased access translates to increased access amongst youth. So I want to thank the Board of Selectmen and the Town Council, and certainly those at Town Meeting, who have undergone or who implemented a pretty robust strategy to try to prevent some of these shops from coming into Wakefield. Because I think this data shows pretty clearly that when you increase access at all, it does trickle down to the youth. And I think that's a valuable point, so I extend my thanks to the folks who have been a part of that, and certainly to all of you. And if there's anything you have to say on that, please.
Well, I just wanted to note that the Board of Health is taking this data too, and they're limiting the tobacco outlets, and they're going to be working on that. So right now we have 2 vape shops on Albion Street. A third was looking to go in, so we want to put these regulations in so we don't have all these vape stores popping up, and really it really does take the whole community coming together to address these issues.
Absolutely.
And Catherine helped set up Wake Up, our substance abuse coalition, prevention coalition, and Chief Smith is a member of Wake Up, as well as our SRO, Jason Skillings, and they actually mentioned at our last meeting how difficult the recent changes in the laws have made it for them with dealing with marijuana specifically. It's certainly a challenge across the state. So,
thank you. Well, thank you both.
Indeed.
Thank you very much.
Alrighty, and budget items, Mr. Pifferling. I think we have one gift tonight. Is that right?
We do. Were you done with your other?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yes, we have one gift tonight. It is from the Cassett Foundation. Cassette, that's our Italian friends in town. They donated 30 textbooks with a value of $2,739. The textbook is Carissimo 1. I did research it. There's a Carissimo Duo, so that must be 2. And we appreciate Cassette for their generous donation. Once again, it seems like an annual donation from them, so we're very appreciative.
Move that the school committee accept with gratitude a donation of 30 textbooks from Cassette Inc., valued at $2,739.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Subcommittee reports, Finance and Facilities. Mr. Callahan.
We are meeting next Friday, October 6th at 7:30 a.m.
Labor and Personnel, Mr. Markham.
We have not yet had a meeting, and I'm sorry to continue to report that. We will certainly endeavor to do so before the next meeting.
Thank you. Policy and Planning, Ms. Fortier.
I have a motion. Is that how it works?
Yes.
Do I read the motion?
Yes.
You can.
Okay. Or does Mr.
You're more
Mark?
than welcome to read it.
Okay.
You want?
I know, I see it.
Okay.
I'm like trying to get my progressives to match up. Move that the school committee lay on the table school committee student member policy for a period of 2 weeks for consideration at the October 10th, 2017 school committee meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? All right, obviously this is just a...
Have we assigned a number to it yet?
We do have a number, Judy. I think it's 221. It does have a number.
I'd just like to amend the motion to include the number.
Okay. Obviously, then this is just for discussion at, or rather to vote at our next meeting. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, future dates and agenda items. Our next meeting will be on October 10th. School committee comments. Mr. Callahan.
No. that youth risk just throws me for a loop every year, and I can't. I have no real thoughts on that together.
Okay. Mr. Liakos.
Thanks.
Ms. Fortier.
I'd like to thank Kaya for spending her entire evening
That's
with
right.
us. But your insights and your contributions were incredibly helpful, so thank you, Kaya.
Do you have any school committee comments, Kaya?
Got nothing.
Mr. Massey.
All set, thank you.
Mr. Markham.
I'm all set. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely, please.
Just like to ask the school committee, I emailed you the other day to just remind you that I'm participating in 2 presentations at the MASS conference in November, and welcome any school committee members that might be attending to join me on panels. They really like it when superintendents and school committee members present together. I realize that that may not be possible with work commitments, but if anyone is attending, I think Mr. Markham said he'd help me out with one of them.
Certainly.
And if anyone else is available, just let me know when you can. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have nothing, so with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn the school committee meeting of...
I know how Chris is voting.
Of tonight.
You stopped.
Well, I did. I had already closed my page, so I was trying to remember the date. October 26th.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Thanks, everyone.
You breathe.